is here now. The power of now is here now. The power of you, me, is here to create magic on earth.
Welcome back to the Mastering You podcast with Natalie Newhart. Thank you so much for being here. Now let's get to work. Hey, everybody. So, today, what we're going to be talking about is really the main key to breaking free from repetitive patterns of maybe certain actions, certain feelings, like constantly feeling in a state of anxiety or overwhelm or frustration or sadness or self doubt or whatever, right? That we tend to find ourselves in. So, to understand this, though, we have to really understand vibration and we have to understand frequency and energy. And and that's the thing. Like the more I dive into this work, the more I realize how everything is energy. Everything is frequency. Our life, our body, our relationships with people, with food, with the gym, with money, like everything in our life is a direct reflection of our inner space, and meaning like the energy in our inner space, our vibration, how we think, how we feel about certain things. And if you really, tune in, you can feel it, right? Like anxiety has a certain frequency. And like whether it's in you or it's when it's in somebody else, you can feel like if you're near somebody that's super anxious, you can feel their anxiety. There's a certain feeling that goes along with that. Just like when you're with somebody that is super grateful or super joyful and they've just got like this smile on their face, or somebody who's really peaceful, feel their energy, right? And most times people have these energies unconsciously, meaning that they've trained them, they've developed them, they've cultivated them unknowingly, right? And they've kind of like taken on these patterns that they don't really want. Like nobody wants to feel anxious, right? Nobody wants to feel sad. Nobody wants to feel angry or frustrated or insecure. Energies have been transferred from other people, places, your parents, etc., right? And and so, it's we have to like number one is just realizing that all this stuff, like how we feel, how we think, how we feel, is coming from a certain frequency, a certain vibration within us. And from that frequency, from that vibration, we take certain actions. And then those actions, you know, over time, they end up being habits. People call them habits, and they create our life, right? So, like, for example, just because, I've had a lot of history like with food stuff, right? It's like, so if you're afraid of food, if you are vibrating with fear around food, so it's like, oh, I feel like I need to follow a meal plan. I need to eat at certain times. I can't eat these foods, right? I can only eat these foods and I can't allow these foods into the house. Well, that means you're vibrating with a certain frequency of fear, and possibly anxiety. And what that does, it causes you to take certain actions, such as stick to a certain meal plan and follow certain rules. And over time, like what that action creates is like that sort of restriction feeling ends up, meaning that you're gonna usually go out of control with the food, right? Like you're gonna overeat or you're gonna binge, or you're just not gonna feel safe around food, right? And that'll create maybe like you don't feel going safe to restaurants, or really enjoying yourself with different foods. And because you're limiting them, then that increases your desire for them, etc. So, but it's the frequency to begin with. Same with like the gym. It's like if you are vibrating from a place of fear with the gym, or like, fear because like I have to go to the gym because I'm afraid I'm going to lose my body, right? So it's like everything has, the gym becomes something you have to do, need to do, should do. And that frequency of fear, makes you think like that. I need to, I have to, I should, I need to work out a certain way. I need to work out for X amount of minutes. I have to, you know, um, go at this intensity, whatever. And what that does, it creates certain actions like forcing yourself to go when you're tired, or, um, just really causing movement to be really hard and challenging, like feel like a burden, like a chore, because you've made it. You're clinging to this belief that it has to be done a certain way out of a frequency of fear. And eventually over time, some people, can hang on to that and just kind of grind through it, push through it, force themselves to will themselves through their workouts. But for me personally, like I did that for a long time, and eventually I just burned out. Like I dreaded going to the gym because there was just so much pressure that I put on myself that it had to be a certain way, right? Like I had to work out a certain way for a certain amount of time, et cetera. So the point is that it all started with the vibration, the frequency, the energy of fear. And then that resulted, and I wasn't aware of it. And that is what ultimately ended up in me not going to the gym. Like I burned out, right? So so I just want to, start this off by saying that everything is energy, and we are always vibrating at a particular energy, whether you're aware of it or not. That's the scary thing, right? I mean, it's not scary, but it's like, if you're, then you're creating shit in your life every single second. And it's just helpful to know if you're creating things that are going to lead to the life that you want, or if you're so unaware of how you're vibrating, how you're feeling in that moment, that you end up creating things that you don't want, right? Like such as the thing with food, or yeah, like binging or overeating, or feeling out of control with food, or burning out at the gym, or burning out at work, or certain relationships that you have. So everything in your life right now is a direct reflection of the way that you are vibrating, okay, as your energy, your frequency. So we got to ask ourselves, like, what are we creating in our daily life as this vibration, as an energy? So if every single thought and every single emotion was to manifest instantly, what would your life look like? You know, the results of the thoughts and the emotions going on within us are truly the existence that we know today, the reality that we know today. The quality of our relationships, whether they're great or not so great, it's a direct result of the way that you are feeling and thinking about that person, right? Um, our body is a result of the way we think and feel about ourselves, or about food, about exercise. Our financial situation is a direct result of how we think and feel about money. The success of our business is a direct result of how we're vibrating, the frequency we are vibrating at. And so all of these things are the result of how we are thinking and feeling every single second. And so it's like, man, that can be scary, right? You can look at it that way, or you can look at it and see it as, wow, this is this is super empowering, because if I just learn how to take my life into my own hands, if I just learn how to be so aware of how I'm feeling and thinking in every moment, and learning how to train myself to remember how to vibrate from a frequency of love and trust and, joy, gratitude, I'm going to create a very different life. Right? Because when I, like, for example, instead of fear with the gym, or fear, fear with body, it's like when I love myself, when I feel deserving of love, when I feel, when I feel worthy, I'm going to take care of myself in a very different place of me thinking like, I'm not good enough yet. I don't look good enough yet. I don't, I'm not smart enough. I don't have it all yet, or, I'm not successful enough. Like, that's a very different frequency that creates different results. But if I'm vibrating from a place of, man, I'm freaking awesome. I'm freaking awesome, and I love myself, and I love my life. I'm so grateful for it. I love my body. Man, I'm like, maybe the body's not where I want it to be, but you know what? It's a great body. I love my body. I love all the things it allows me to do. It's going to drive me to take very different actions from that place, right? When I love something, I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to feed myself well. I'm going to make sure I don't choose foods that hurt me, hurt my stomach. I'm going to make sure I move my body, not because I need to, but because I honor it, I respect it, and I want to take the best care of it, right? So, and if you can just get inside of learning how to train your mental and emotional states, imagine how empowering that would be, right? And like, this is what we do inside the self mastery program, which is why it's called self mastery, because this is the key to everything that you want. So if you can begin to see and interact with the mind and the emotions as though every mental thought, every emotional feeling was a creation, and you are the creator driving inside that creation, and the outcome that you have is the life, right, that you have or don't have, and so vision, I talk a lot about vision. Vision is that place that we aspire to align with. It's the life that we choose to know. It's the life we want, right? But it's not just about like the things I have. It's not even about that. It's about the feeling, right? So maybe you have a vision of health and well-being in your that you want in your body, right? Or maybe you have a vision of knowing more connection in your life, like deeper quality relationships, friendships, whatever. Or maybe you have a vision of knowing more peace, or maybe you have a vision of the impact that you want to, or the adventures that you want to have in your life. So think of vision as the space that we aspire to align with. Or even better, vision is the manifestation of this frequency of the frequency of our mental and emotional alignment. And so if we have a vision that we aspire to create, we have but one job, and that is to become the living embodiment of that vision, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Okay. And as soon as we line up with that vision within ourselves, then it will be the reality of our lives. But so often we have this vision that, we want to obtain. We have a goal in our life. We set this benchmark and we start striving towards it, but we're not fully, truly committed to it. So and what I mean by commitment is, let's define commitment. So for me, commitment means that there is no other option. This is like, it's a hard line, no other option. That's how I define commitment. That's how I also define intention, right? So if I have an intention that, and I commit to that, then there is no other option but the fulfillment and the success of that intention or vision, regardless of what it's going to take, regardless of what I'm going to have to do or who I'm going to have to be, who I'm going to have to become, what do I have to let go of in my life to step into that reality of that manifestation, right? So, for example, I've lately had this vision of connection, right? Or I guess an intention. It's part of my bigger vision, right? It's like, my bigger vision is like health and vitality. And, one thing that I noticed inside my vision or in my life was connection with people. And, so I've recently set the intention of connection, and I've had to put myself out there and do things that weren't comfortable. And, they don't, I mean, it's like I usually go to bed super early, guys, like 7:30. Okay. And so I usually don't go out of the house past like 5, because I'm like starting to wind down. But I've had, I've, I've gotten out of that belief, and I'm starting to go and, be with other women. And it's like, like tonight we're meeting at 7 o'clock, 7 to 8:30. And I'm like, oh my God, but I'm, I'm, I'm having to become that person, right? I need to become that person. And the thing is that it's not that I have to, I'm committed to it, because there's there's a particular life that I want to know. And that's one that's, it's very specific. It's very specific in my mind. So, it sounds like a simple idea, and it is simple, but it can be very difficult for us to align ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically, if you don't have the right skills and the right methods, right? I mean, I've been on this journey for almost 10 years now. So my awareness of where I'm at and my awareness of like every single moment of how I'm feeling and thinking is, I mean, it's night and day from when I first started, right? And when I first started, I couldn't even meditate for like 5 minutes, right? I had to start off with 1 minute. And I always lived in anxiety, like constant state of anxiety and overwhelm. And my life is radically different now, right? Because I've developed certain skills and that allow me to really be the creator of my life. It allows me to almost see life in slow motion. And because it's in slow motion, I'm able to adjust where I'm at every single moment so that I literally am consciously and intentionally creating my life into what I want it to be. So, even though at the beginning we may have a lot of energy and passion and excitement to fulfill a vision that we have for our life, to create something that's not currently inside of our experience, to become somebody that we're currently not, whether that's just a certain quality that you want to build within, like peace, like I choose to become a peaceful person, or I want to be a passionate person. Um, or maybe it's something external that you want, like I want to make $1 million, or I want to save $1 million, or I want to transform my body, so I have optimal health and well-being and an amazing physique, just because that's the way I want to feel. Or I want to live a life that's rich in love and a life that has quality connection, like deep connection with others. And so when we look at these marks that we set for ourselves, we get excited, right? And we get excited about the anticipation of what it will be like, um, and what it will feel like. There's an excitement, there's a passion, there's an enthusiasm there, and this is why when we create these benchmarks at the beginning of the year, like New Year's resolutions, like everybody's like all gung ho about it. Like, yeah, this is going to be it. It's going to be awesome, right? Just the possibility of it excites us. And then what happens, we start moving towards the fulfillment of that vision. Like, time starts to go on. And at some point in time, it's only a matter of time that we come face to face with a point in our life, or a challenge in our life, a moment in our life, an opportunity for growth, and we come face to face with and where we realize that we are not aligned with the vision that we just said, right, that we want. We come face to face with an opportunity to see how we have not yet become that vibrational equivalent to the person in our vision. And so if we're after like connection in our life, maybe the way we come face to face with the recognition that we're not yet aligned is maybe we find ourselves judging others, or manipulating others, or competing with others, or wanting the worst for others, or trying to place yourself above others, like, oh, I'm smarter, or I'm fitter, or I'm, or maybe I'm not as smart, I'm not as fit, I'm not as whatever, right? And we're not, or maybe like we're just not even present with others, right? So it's like we're there physically, but our mind isn't there. And so we come face to face with the way in which we're not being in alignment with that vision of connection, because the vision of connection, that person doesn't compete. That, like, if you, anytime that you have felt a deep connection with somebody, there's no competition, there's no judgment, there's no manipulation, there's just presence, right? It's like absolute presence, absolute love. There's like depth, there's richness there. So so that's who we need to become. And when we come face to face with this opportunity, there's a choice that's to be made, right? But most people make the choice to regress and to stay right where they are, to continue to be the person that they have been, right? The person who judges. And this isn't usually conscious, right? It's well, sometimes it is, right? Sometimes it is. But a lot of times it's these programs that have been running inside us that we don't, it's just these thoughts are just naturally going on. Like, oh, I got to beat her. Oh, she's so much, she's prettier than me. Or your mind is elsewhere, right? Just thinking about your to-do list instead of being present with the person, right? But it's like you're not even aware of it. So you see how important it is that awareness is. It's a skill. It's a skill that needs to be trained and practiced, and especially these days, because like, man, our attention span these days is like not there at all. So it really does needs to be something that needs to be trained and practiced. So because otherwise, if you don't see it, then you continue to allow those programs to run you, and you continue to create the same disconnection in your life, right? And so yeah, when most people come face to face with this opportunity to see themselves, to see how they are not aligning with the vision of connection, for example, there is a choice, right? The choice is, do I continue to be the person I have been, which is somebody who judges and competes and doesn't give somebody like, the full attention, fully present with them, somebody that, maybe like talks over them instead of listening, all these different character traits, right? So it's like, do I continue to be that person I have been, the person that I have been that doesn't have connection or has very little connection, or do I commit to where I'm going, right? Do I commit to that vision of connection, becoming that person that I must become? Do I simply accept where I am and how my life is? I guess I feel like, I guess nobody likes me, or I guess this is just the way life is. I guess I'm just loner, right? Or I guess I just never going to have like quality friends or quality relationships. Or do I hold on to the vision of, this is who I choose to be? I'm creating connection in my life. And most people, they accept where they are simply because it's just what they know, right? It's all they know. It's what feels comfortable. It feels natural. It seems more real to them. And usually because they are not aware of how they are being, right? They aren't aware of how they are vibrating. And, and they are, they don't realize that the vision of connection, the vision that they have in their imagination, in their heart, is just as real as the current circumstances that pervade our life. But oftentimes, because the current circumstances are right in front of us, and because we've trained ourselves into a current way of being, we've unknowingly trained ourselves into a current way of being. For example, this would be disconnection, right? Or a state of fear or anxiety or judgment or never feeling enough, whatever. Because we've trained ourselves into this current way of being, the vision appears to be off in the future, right? We simply succumb to that which is before us, rather than committing ourselves to the vision in that moment, in that second. And so it's not a lack of opportunity that causes us not to create the changes that we desire. It's not the lack of ability that keeps us from creating the changes that we desire. It is a lack of focus. It is a lack of awareness. It is a lack of resolving ourselves in the other direction, resolving ourselves to our vision, to the person we choose to be, who we want to be, who we and need to be. And these are the skills that I empower you with inside the self-mastery program, because they aren't just going to come, guys. Like this stuff needs to be trained, after how many years of being so unaware, right? So, and it's like, if I resolve myself to the vision, if I commit myself 100% to this vision of my life, then I will no longer accept anything that is less than that, right? That's what commitment is. And so then if there's this opportunity or this challenge that confronts me, that shows up before me, I will behave very, very differently in the face of it. It's in that moment I will step into the person I choose to become, as opposed to being the person I have been, right? And this is the strength that it is time for us to cultivate. It is time for you to cultivate if you are truly committed to a magnificent life. If you are truly committed to the changes that you say you want, that you seek for yourself. And so, what does that look like? It looks like becoming aware of what I am creating with my thought, my emotion, and my actions, the frequency that I am vibrating at, and beginning to become masterful over aligning those ways of ourselves, those aspects of ourselves with our intended outcome, with our vision, and to break free of the cyclic experiences that we can get stuck in. Vision gives us this ability to break free of that cyclical experience, that repetitive pattern, that feeling of stuckness in our life, of creating the same thing over and over, doing the same thing over and over, and wondering why things aren't changing, even though maybe what I'm doing is I'm trying to find a new partner, or I'm trying to get a new job, or I'm doing a new diet or a different workout plan, or I'm gonna move houses or move to a different city. We will find ourselves in the same exact spot, the same pattern, the same outcome, so long as we don't learn how to change the root, the vibrational frequency that which we are vibrating at. Okay. So vision gives us the ability to break free of that cyclical experience because it gives us that reference point on who we need to be. It gives us a reference point that is beyond where we currently are, how we are at, and gives us the ability to aspire to a space beyond where we currently are, and really engage, the role of taking ownership in our life, being a creator of our life, feeling empowered, choosing our life instead of just letting life happen, right? And seeing where we end up. So it's about consciously transforming ourselves and our life, molding ourselves into our life, into literally anything of our choosing, literally every second of the day, to break free of the pattern that has condemned stay in the current reality we know, and the past experiences that we have already moved through. And so, in order to truly create conscious change in your life, truly make your vision possible, to become the person you choose to be and to live the life you want, you must resolve yourself to the vision, your vision. You must commit yourself to your vision fully, and then engage in those three things that will take you there very, very fast. And that there is nothing that keeps you from your vision, nothing that keeps your vision from unfolding but you. There is no lack of opportunity. There is no force that is working against you. There are no people in your life that are holding you back. There's nothing wrong with your body. It is simply you. If you do not know the life that you intend for yourself, this moment right now, if you are not living the vibrant vision that you have committed yourself to, that you want, that you say you want, that you've seen in your mind's eye, it is because of you. Same with me. If I am not living the vision that I see in my mind, in my heart, it is because of me. It's because I am unaware. It's because I'm not vibrating at that frequency. And maybe that's because I'm unaware that I'm vibrating elsewhere, or it's because I haven't committed myself fully, because I can be vibrating in a state of fear or anxiety or judgment with somebody and really be aware of it, but I still haven't committed myself to something different, to that which I say I want. Right. And so this is why, this is what we do inside my self-mastery program, is you learn how to untrain this current way of being that is creating your current reality. And you learn how to retrain your thoughts and your emotional patterns with the person that you must become to live the life you say you want. Right. So it's like, if you want to be full of life, health, peak health and vitality, feeling vibrant in your life, if you want deep quality connection, if you want peace of mind, if you want to feel abundant, financially, there are certain ways that you need to think and feel. There's a certain frequency to achieve that. And in my program, I empower you with the tools on how to vibrate at that frequency. There are certain skills that need to be developed in order for you to step into that version, that new version of you. Because if it was simple as just knowing what to do, knowing what you wanted, oh, I want to be super fit and I want to know, have a great connection with my partner, then you'd already be living that version of, that vision. But it's not that simple, right? You can't step out of your current way of being and into a new one without having proper skills, without having certain methods that teach you how to develop these skills and character traits of who you need to become, right? And so there's certain skills, that you need to develop and fine tune that way so that you can start to mold yourself into that person that you must become, that frequency that you must become. So, for example, people who are super fit, they have a particular way of thinking and feeling about fitness and self-care and how they eat, right? They enjoy working out, they enjoy the sensations, they enjoy eating well, they enjoy taking care of themselves, they make decisions and that help them feel their best. And they orchestrate their life in a way where they're not abusive to themselves. They're not overworking themselves or overgiving or over exercising. They feel a sense of gratitude with food. They see it as a medicine or, like a special offering to themselves, as opposed to something that just tastes good or something that they have to be afraid of, right? Whereas people who struggle to get great shape, they have a different way of thinking and feeling, right? These people tend to think about how hard it is to work out, how tired they are, how they don't feel like doing it, how boring a salad is, how boring vegetables are, and oh my God, it just takes so much effort. And, and then when they see like sweet treats, they get all excited about it. And, or maybe they're afraid of sweets or certain foods, and so they don't allow themselves to have foods, which makes them binge on the foods. And then these people also, because they don't have that self-respect, they tend to overgive themselves, they tend to overwork, over exercise sometimes, not giving any time for self-care. They maybe spend time watching Netflix and stuff like that. So a very different way of being, right? Same goes with people who are like peaceful. People who are peaceful have a very particular way of thinking and feeling, right? They talk about, they're calm. Like they talk about how great life is. They move slower. They talk about maybe how beautiful the nature is or the weather. And like, regardless if it's sunny or like crappy out, they're kind of just like, wow, it's just so pretty and so peaceful, so nice, right? They breathe slow, they move slow. They're never in a rush because they choose not to put themselves, in that kind of place where they're putting too much on their plate. So they take their time, they enjoy life. Whereas people who are stressed out and burnt out, they're going to have a very different way of thinking and feeling. They're constantly thinking that they have to do it all. They got to hurry. There's no time. They're constantly rushing from one thing to the next because they continuously put too much on their plate. They take on too many responsibilities. They talk about how they have so much to do. They blame the world on why they're so stressed. They hang out with other stressed people and talk about how stressed they are. Like there's certain ways of being that each of these groups of people embody, a certain frequency that they vibrate at, mentally, emotionally, and physically. So if you want to create a particular life for yourself, you have to learn how to align all of these three elements together. So you want to ask yourself, okay, well, how much am I creating with my mind and my emotions, that which is not aligning with what I say and what I want in my life, right? How often is the focus of my mind somewhere else, on something else, right? On a different quality that is not aligned with my vision, right? So it's like if I say what I want, if I say that I want peace in my life, how often is my mind going to thoughts of not peace, of anything but peace, right? It's like the thoughts of like how I have so much to do, how I don't have enough time, how I have to hurry, how, how crappy, I don't know, whatever is going on in your day, like how nothing works out for you or, whatever, If what you're saying is what is you want connection, well, how often are you vibrating as disconnection? How often are you not present with the people that you're with? How often are you judging people, manipulating people, putting people up or down? So how often am I permitting my emotions to, be in a place that is not what I say I want? In a less than desirable place, a fear-based emotion causing contraction within myself. How frequently does that happen? And it's really starting to ask yourself, just look back on your day today, guys, and really ask yourself, okay, if I say that I want to be this person, well, how was I being today? And just run yourself through your day. Like from the moment that you woke up, what was the first thought there? If what you say is you want to enjoy life, you want to, just feel good, well, what thoughts where's your mind going right when you wake up? Is it focused on, oh, I don't want to get up, and how it's, gosh, I really don't feel like going to work, and oh, I really don't feel like working out. Like, where is your mind going? And can you see how it is not in alignment with who you need to be? Quick interruption. Hey guys, Natalie Newhart here. If you resonate with my message and would like to learn more about how to master your behaviors, create peak vitality in your body, and live a more effortless life, then click the link in the show notes to set up a 30-minute coaching call with me. On our call, we'll take an assessment of what's standing in your way from becoming your best self and the steps to overcome them. Okay, back to the show. And know that the sooner that you commit to the highest space in you, this best version of you, your higher self, and you become the embodiment of your vision mentally, physically, spiritually, the faster, emotionally as well, the faster it will unfold. And the sooner it will become your living manifestation, the sooner it'll become the reality that you so desire for yourself. But begin to ask the question, ask yourself, and really be sincere as you ask this question. Try not to come from a harsh space. Try not to be so hard on yourself or judgmental of yourself, but rather be kind of curious, more from a curious space, asking yourself, how often do I permit my mind, to focus on that which that which does not serve, that I know does not serve me, that which does not align with who I choose to be? Thoughts of guilt, thoughts of shame, thoughts of unworthiness, thoughts of helplessness, such as, why I can't do this. I can't do this because of XYZ, because of my kids, because of my schedule. Maybe there's thoughts of overwhelm and anxiety and pressure. Things like, why I have to work, why I, need to clean the house, why, or how working out is so hard. Thoughts of self-doubt, like why I'm not able to do something. Feelings of helplessness and poor me, things like why I have it so hard and how others have it so much easier than I do. Thoughts of lack, like how I'm not as pretty or smart or successful, like judging yourself. I'm not as good as this person. Maybe I'm not as good as you, or you're not as good as me. If you're trying to create connection, those kind of thoughts aren't going to create that. Instead, it's going to place you above them, right? How often are you comparing yourself to others? Trying to be better than them, or, comparing yourself to others and not feeling as good as them, right? And that all that creates is reasons and ways for you to be better than other people, because you position yourself as above them or less than them, right? And anytime you position yourself as less than them, you will find yourself trying to compete or win or beat them. There's a feeling of, I need to prove myself to feel safe. I feel safe when I am better in this way. And that will never create connection if that is what you're after. How often are you thinking thoughts of, judging other people? If she's so lazy, he's so lazy. And really just notice how that's actually just a reflection on yourself, of how you don't allow yourself to rest, right? And again, that's never going to create the outcomes that you most likely want in yourself? How often are you thinking thoughts of how others have it easier, or how thoughts of how you're not good enough to do something, you're not smart enough, pretty enough, capable enough? Thoughts of how your body's broken. How often are you thinking that? Thoughts of how you have no support, or how nobody's in your corner, and how you have to do everything, and the burden just falls on me, and how I have to carry this burden. How often do you allow resentment to thrive inside of you? For this virus of resentment to build inside you towards another person, towards a person that you say you love. So can you see how that does not align? How often are you creating judgment towards yourself? Judging how you don't feel enough. You're not as good as. How often are you letting hatred in your mind to play? How often do you permit the energy of hatred in your mind to be driven inside the mind to activate and fuel that emotion of hate? How often are you allowing your thoughts, to go to those places of competition? All of these thoughts only activate and fuel feelings of lack and fear and sadness and anxiety and overwhelm and self-doubt and stress, which will never be helpful in trying to create the vision that you want, because these contracting emotions just suck the life out of you. They drain you, they exhaust you, they burn you out. Plus, they really just don't feel good. Like, they just don't feel good. Nobody wants to feel anxious or sad or overwhelmed or angry. It doesn't feel good. You can feel it. It's contracting, it hurts, and it often leads to more of the same, right? It leads to more separation, more disconnection, more lack of energy, more exhaustion, more pain in the body, headaches, stomach aches, digestion issues, right? And it causes us to shut down. These feelings cause us to shut down, to lash out on people. They cause us to eat and drink and smoke and distance ourselves and watch Netflix all day and sleep. It causes people to run away from you. But so many of us will allow our mind to think in this way. And then later we play the role of victim unknowingly and say, how could this happen to me? Right? Why is everybody treating me so poorly? Why don't I have any good friends? Why aren't my relationships better? Why does nothing ever go my way? Why do I feel so lonely? Why is it that my work life sucks? Why do I hate my job? Why is it that I'm the one that's always doing all the work and not getting recognized? Why doesn't anybody care about me? Why am I not successful? Why am I not good enough? Why is my body not cooperating? Why can't I get myself to be consistent in working out or eating well? Right? We unknowingly play this victim mentality, thinking that the problem is outside of us, it's in other people. We blame our circumstances on outside things because we have not become accountable for the very seeds that were planted in the matrix of creation that fueled that judgment, that fueled that competitive aspect of ourselves that is driving everyone away, that fueled that resentment, that fueled that hatred of our job or hatred of our body, that fueled that fear around food, that fueled that anxiety and overwhelm that grew into a tree and gave fruit to the circumstances in your daily life at this time. So ask yourself, how quickly would my life transform if I truly committed myself to no longer permitting my mind to focus on those places, to no longer have that attitude that I'm not good enough, to no longer have that attitude of jealousy, of competition, of I need to be better than, or I'm not as good as, to no longer have that attitude of hatred or overwhelm or judgment, to no longer have that attitude of how I need to do all these things to feel enough. The attitude, to no longer have the attitude of working out, of how working out is so hard, right? What if you just gave that up? To no longer have the attitude that I'm missing out on so much when I eat a salad or eat something healthy, right? What if you no longer constantly looked around life to see what you could get from here or there? Constantly seeing life and through the lens of scarcity, where you have to be the best, or you have to do it all, you have to keep everything for yourself, because if you don't, there's only so much to go around, and you'll go without. Like even with food, right? It's like fear of missing out with food. What if you let go of that attitude that there's only so much? Because in higher principle, in higher teachings, that if I choose to be this abundance of love for myself, my life will transform. If I truly believe that I was already enough, then I wouldn't need to, run myself crazy to trying to be enough by trying to look a certain way or achieve a certain amount, accomplish a certain amount of things. My life would transform because it would open up so much energy, so much space, so much time, so much connection with myself and others. And so this is a virtuous principle to live up to, right? Being love, loving to ourselves and others. We know that if I choose to love myself and take the best care of myself, value myself and respect myself and believe in myself, I will absolutely achieve whatever it is I want. I will feel my best mentally, physically, emotionally, and I'll be able to create whatever I choose. So why don't we see love as the most important thing in our life? The most important thing that we must align ourselves to, that we must train ourselves back into. Why is it not that we, or why is it that we don't become the embodiment of that principle of love? Become the living embodiment, to cultivate and mold ourselves into this living embodiment of love, right? Instead, we're thinking I just got to get a new job, or I need to, do a new diet, or I need to lose some weight, or I need to be smarter. I need a new partner. Instead, it's I'm going to love myself in a massive way. I'm going to take the best care of myself, my mental and physical health. I'm going to believe I'm worth it. I'm going to believe in my abilities. I'm going to take such good care of myself that I have so much energy and so much joy, so much presence, so much love for myself that others will be so fulfilled by me just by being around me. And they will ask for and require nothing else from me. The transformation that we must make is that we must start to embody this love. We must stop comparing ourselves with other people. Stop believing that other people are better or more worthy, or that I'm not as good as. Stop judging ourselves. Stop judging others. The only way out of this cage is through love. And if you're repeating patterns in your life that are not serving you, it's just showing you where you are not present, where you are not aligned with that frequency of love. If we were to love ourselves fully, there's not a single one of us who would not accept, who would not say that my life would transform for the better. And yet, how many thoughts go through the mind of how I'm not enough, how I'm not smart enough, pretty enough, strong enough, how I need to prove myself to others, how I need to be better than others, how I need to be smarter than others, how others are not, how others are lazy, are, you know, I don't know, whatever judgments you have around people, like whatever comes up for you, right? I mean, like stuff like how other people eat too loud, whatever, right? When we get into that place, we spiral down and we start to focus without even realizing, because we start to focus on, how we're not enough, how I need to do X, Y, Z to feel enough. We start to create that judgment with others, that separation, which is just a reflection of ourselves. which is a whole nother podcast in itself. But we start to not even notice that we're focusing on how it is that those around us are not giving to us. What we want are not, how they're not meeting our expectations. We start to focus on how they don't care about us, how they're not loving to us, how they don't consider us. And then again, as I said, that resentment starts to build, that anger starts to build, animosity starts to build. And we blind ourselves from the ability to see what is truly being given to us and what has been already given to us. And we keep ourselves from this extraordinary, abundant experience of life that life has to offer to us in this moment. This feeling of everything is perfect because we're so focused on how everything is not. And we cut ourselves from the vision that is possible for us because we step into a space of lack. And so think of any principle at this time that is a virtuous way to be in the world and will align you with the support and the fulfillment of your life. Loving yourself as an example, being grateful as an example, being peaceful as an example. And hold yourself to one of these virtuous principles for the next week or so. Hold yourself to this principle mentally, emotionally, and physically by the actions you take. And just take note of how frequently it is that you are not in alignment with this virtue. And notice also how frequently am I aligned with this virtue? And when I'm aligned with this virtue, what is my state like? What is my experience of life like? What happens within me? What is my actions towards other people? What happens around me? What's the contribution to other people that I make? And what is their response back to me? And then going to the other side, when I'm not aligned with this virtue, what is my experience of life like? What is the impact that I have on those around me? How am I impacting others? How am I interacting with others? And what is that experience of life that I have? And how do other people respond to me from that? And as I said, the virtue could be self-love, which is just love in general, which is just taking self-love would be taking the best care of yourself. It could be love in general, so your love for yourself, love for others, love for the world. It could be committing to the principle of gratitude. It could be committing to the principle of peace. It could be committing to a particular action or thinking positive, whatever. It could be anything. So just take a moment and pick anything, any virtue, any principle, anything that you want to commit to. But again, the thing is that you really don't have the skills. Like you can take what I've taught you here on this episode, but you still haven't developed the skills. If it was that easy, you'd already be living the life you want. There are certain skills that need to be developed. You can't just, it's like, being a professional athlete. You don't just become a professional athlete in a day. It takes a lot of repetition. There's a lot of things that professional athletes do to get themselves to that level. And this is no different. And so, I say this a lot, but so few people, so many people just think that they just need to know it, right? I just need to know, listen to a podcast. I just need to read a book. I just need to, I just need to learn more information. I need to read it off Instagram or Facebook or whatever. And the thing is that number one, you read it, but there is no execution of it because you don't have the skills to turn that knowledge into your 24-hour day, into training it into your 24-hour day. And knowing what to do and actually becoming the doing are different things. Understanding what I'm saying here, many people have learned many great things, and many people today have even learned how to recite, especially today, have even learned to recite very eloquently the things the principles, these ideas, of living a virtuous life, how to aspire to greatness, how to manifest vision, how to, create peak health and vitality in your body. Like many people, they just regurgitate things that they've heard, right? And especially with AI these days. But the thing is that very, very few are actually embodying those virtues and principles, are actually the embodiment of that way of living. Very few people, from my experience, a lot of people talk about peace, love, joy, vitality, self-love, gratitude, but very few people, from my experience, are truly living it on a moment-to-moment basis. They may have moments of, maybe an hour or a day that they feel like this, but then they go, then most of their, the next day they're going right back into anxiety and maybe lack and stress. So knowing what to do is not enough. It's not enough to just know this information, to know these principles that I'm teaching here. To just have it in our minds as good ideas. Oh, that sounds nice, like good things to aspire to. It's not enough to just share the ideas of virtue either. But it is a must. It is a must at this time to become the living embodiment of that virtue itself. To commit yourself to that frequency, to that vibration, to that way of living. And the only way that you're going to really be able to do it is by cultivating certain skills, cultivating certain character traits within yourself. And there are certain methods that you need to create this. I mean, there's a lot of different methods, but there's certain methods that in particular that I use to create this. So I say again, knowing virtue is not enough, right? Knowing principle is not enough. Reciting this information, knowing what to do is not enough. And even being able to inspire people through that ability to recite is still not enough. We must, if we wish to truly know magnificence in our life, we must, if we truly are committed to the fulfillment of our vision, the highest of ourselves, then we must become the beingness of the virtue itself, the frequency, the vibration, the energy, so that it is woven into our fabric, into the fabric of who we are at our very core, until it becomes as natural to us as breathing. When the virtue that you are committed to, whether that be love or peace or vitality, whatever, gratitude, when it becomes as natural to you as who you are, when it becomes as natural to you as breathing is, then you are free. Then you begin to understand mastery. Then you become a creator of your life. Then you will understand and step into the creator and the potential that lies within you. But so long as you allow and you permit yourself to be shaken, meaning so long as you allow your mind to run the show and go to those places that do not align, you will not know what it is to live that experience of life that you desire. You will not know what it is to be free. You will not know what is possible for yourself and for your life. And so let us take that next step together. I encourage you to take that next step into stepping into the person you choose to be, stepping into that vision, to become the power that lies inside you, and dare to risk everything for that. Dare to risk everything for that vision. Whether there's destructive people inside your life, destructive habits in your life, destructive addictions in your life, destructive ways of thinking in your life, destructive actions, we must let them melt away, fall away, let go of them, ungrip them from your clench and let them be free. The life that you want is truly right in front of you, just unseen by you because the mind is distracted on other things, because you have been distracted by or have permitted distraction in your life. And so welcome and accept the greatness that is already in your life. Begin to choose to see the world through that lens and be very mindful of the power of that lens. Be mindful of the power that the lens holds, as you've probably heard before. Because it's funny, one person, like for my mom as an example, looks at the world with cynicism and hatred and lack. Whereas somebody else, such as me, I look at the world from a place of love and abundance. So which world is real? One person looks at the world and says, I don't have any time for myself, because they unknowingly have their self-worth placed in doing things and being busy. Whereas another person can look at the same world and says, I make time for myself because I'm worth it. There's plenty of time. So which world is true, right? Is it a stressful world without any time, or is it a peaceful world with plenty of time? One person may look at exercise as being fun and exciting, and another person looks at exercise as being as a burden and a chore. So which is real? Is exercise fun, or is it a chore? All of them are real to us in the moment that we are aligned with that reality, with that frequency. And so ask yourself, what is the world that I'm looking at right now? What is the lens that I'm looking through? And is that the real world? Or is the vision that I aspire to and the life that I want to live, is that the real world? Which is more real? And the answer is they are all real. As soon as you choose to align yourself through your thoughts and your feelings, it becomes real for you in that moment. In repeated moments, it becomes your life. So perhaps your thoughts are aligned with a nightmare of a life. Perhaps they're not aligned with the outcomes you want. But maybe you haven't noticed how you're doing that, how you're creating the nightmare of your life. You don't realize how you've chosen the nightmare and are continuing to choose the nightmare because of the lack of awareness. And as a result, life will be a nightmare for you. It will be hard, it will be challenging, it will be a struggle, and you'll find yourself continuing to repeat the same patterns. Wake up. I ask you to wake up and accept that the nightmare will end as soon as you dare to dream beyond that living nightmare. As soon as you change your frequency, your vibration, as soon as you give yourself the chance to develop the skills to become a different person, to change your habits and patterns of thought and feelings. And when you do, you will turn that nightmare into a dream. Your dream life will become your living reality. Dare to let go of your current nightmare and dare to step into a new version of you. Do not invest so heavily on what you believe to be right, because perhaps it is not. And dream the dream of your choosing. Dream with greatness, the greatness that is possible for you, and express the magnificence, the divinity, the purity that dwells inside you from this place. And one day you can come with me and go beyond the dream. You can merge into the truth of who you really are. You can see who you really are, how powerful you really are. And so do not waste your time. Do not waste your life dreaming a dream that's not worth living. Take these rare and precious, sacred moments that you have in this life and create brilliance, create the magnificence that you know is possible. Do not waste any more time. Align your mind. Learn the skills to align your mind, your nervous system, with your dream, with your vision, with your highest self. And I would love nothing more than to help you get there, to do that with you, to show you how, to give you the tools, the methods, and the community to support you. And if you want to learn how, schedule a call with me. Click the link in the show notes below, and I'll share with you what that looks like. Until then, have a beautiful day, commit to your vision, dream the highest. Much, much love to you all. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Mastering You podcast with me, Natalie Newhart. I hope you're feeling more empowered and inspired on how to master your mind, your body, and your life. If you don't want to miss your next training with me, be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you consume your podcasts. And definitely connect with me on Instagram. I'm natalie.newhart on Instagram. Much, much love to you all. Until next time.
The power of love is here now. The power of now is here now. The power of you, me, is here to create magic on us.